A second straight embarrassing loss for our Halos in the post-All-Star break stretch. And this time, it came with an injury as well. We'll talk about it. Disappointing day to be an Angels fan. It's time for the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Postcast people, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. As always, coming at you live here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and after the fact, wherever you get the Angels, Locked On Angels podcast feed. I, as always, am your host, Gavin Carlson, a very raspy voiced Gavin Carlson today. Of course, I was not able to do the postcast yesterday. I'm still working it back from a little bit of an illness on my trip. You may recognize the background's a little bit different. I'm in New York. I've been in New York City. I've been in New Jersey. Now I'm in upstate New York at a friend's house just for the night. He let me use his room to record this postcast for you guys right now. Shout out to everybody who wished, had best wishes for me getting over my illness. Shout out to everybody who's in here today, sticking with me and sticking with a really, really bad Angels team. Because my goodness, I didn't do the postcast yesterday, and it's probably good for my health that I did not do it, because even if I was 100%, it would not have been good for my mental health, for your mental health, for anybody's to talk about that disgraceful 13-3 loss yesterday. But I come back today and an equally embarrassing performance. 8-2 looks better, but only because you're comparing it to yesterday. In the grand scheme of things, 8-2 to the A's is disgraceful. Not to mention the Angels have now lost 5 straight games to the A's. In danger of a second straight sweep in Oakland. Absolutely embarrassing. We'll talk about a Nolan Schanuel injury. We'll talk about Kochanowicz continuing to be nothing near an MLB level pitcher. And we'll talk about the lineup having a typical performance where they can't score more than 4 runs. This time, just a couple, swings here and there, but really not much. But before we get into all of that, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get your parts fast. Shop your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Before we jump into everything, got to say shout out to everybody here. Please leave a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I know I am not my normal self. My voices have gone. The energy level, I'm not going to lie, is extremely low. It's also 7 p.m. here, not 4 p.m. So, the body is messed up with the time difference and everything. But shout out to everybody here. We have Ed, who I've not seen before, saying, let's go W. So I guess we got an A's fan in here. Jeff, my loyal fan, he says, good to see you back, Gavin. How's your trip going? My trip is going well. You know what? Normally I wouldn't talk about myself, but I don't want to waste too much time talking about this game. My trip is going well. We'll get to some of the sponsors later, but I use Booking.com during part of the trip. I use FanDuel. I had a great time with FanDuel helping me out at a Liberty game, making some money. That was great. So the trip has been great, distracting me from these awful Angels. Angels win, says, light up that halo. Another great performance. Yeah, for real. Absolutely embarrassing. All you can do at this point is be sarcastic. Anthony says, hey, he also says, didn't watch the game. Did I miss anything? Well, no, you did not. But I'll tell you what happened in case you didn't. The Angels lose to the A's. I didn't even say it. 8-2. I did say it, actually. They lose 8-2. They're now just 2 games ahead of the A's in the win column. I mean, all this whole season, we know the Angels have been terrible, but we've always said, hey, at least we've got the A's behind us. We know we'll never be last in the AL West. Don't blink. You might miss the Angels lose that 4th spot in a couple games. They lose again tomorrow. You continue to do what you're doing, and surely enough, we might be the last team in the AL West. We might be challenging for one of the last teams in all of baseball. It's been brutal. And my question is, what the heck did the All-Star break do to this team? Let's not act like this team was playing amazing baseball in the first half of the season. But let's also not forget that this team won 3 of 4 against Seattle coming into the break. They won 4 of the last 5, ending the Rangers series with a 7-2 win. Then they got killed 11-0. But then 6-5, 2-1, 3-2, 3 exciting wins to go into the break. I mean, exciting. Willie Calhoun, walk-off exciting. Close games, Ben Joyce pitching well, Carlos Estevez pitching well. Great games, great wins. The All-Star break was nice for everybody. Obviously, I'm on a trip because of it. But you come back and you do this. I didn't get to talk about the game yesterday, but my goodness. What do you even say? It's just so ridiculous to lose by 10 runs to a team this bad. Because I will still take it to the grave that the Angels are light years more talented than the A's. And that's really saying something. We know this team is not very talented right now. The veterans are not playing like veterans. The young guys, other than a Zach Neto and a Logan O'Hoppe, and maybe Nolan Schanuel before he gets hurt today, we're playing well. But this Angels team stinks. This A's team is way worse. It's way worse. At least we have guys we're talking about trading at the deadline. Who do they have other than Mason Miller that they're even talking about getting stuff for at the deadline? The Angels should be sweeping the A's, not getting swept, not losing 5 in a row in Oakland, on the verge of 6 straight losses in Oakland in a couple weeks. It's embarrassing. It's really, 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 really bad. Really, really bad. And Ron Washington, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt. I try to give you the credit, but something has to be said about having your team show up to play. And I get it. You can't pitch. Ron Washington can't go out there and pitch. He has to send out a guy like Kochanowicz, who has been awful. But the horrible pitching performance distracts from the fact that, in both games, really, the horrible pitching distracts from the fact that the lineup has been no good. It's been no good. You're scoring 3 and 2 runs in blowout games where the A's don't even need to use their best pitchers because they have huge leads. And you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. 6 hits today. It's got to be more. It's got to be more. And I get it. You fell behind very early. We'll talk about Kochanowicz right now. He's just not it, man. He's just not it. He's pitched 2 games now. If you forgot, on the 11th against the Mariners, 3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. And we thought that was bad. But today he goes 1 more inning. He goes 4 innings, 7 hits again, but 7 earned runs because he had 3 walks today. The only thing he didn't do on the 11th was walk guys. 3 walks today in addition to those 7 hits. He gave up the big fly, the 3-run shot in the first inning. Just really, really bad. 2 innings, too. It was all in 2 innings. And it's not like he was lights out in the other innings, but 3-run shot in the first. The Angels do nothing. Then basically a 1-2-3 because Logan O'Hoppe makes a great throw, throwing out Brett Harris, and a great tag by Guillerme as well. Then in the third, you do get a 1-2-3 inning, but only because of a double play. So once again, there's still hits in these innings. And then in the bottom of the 4th, things go off the wall. Single, strikeout, fly out, 2 outs. But then a single, a walk, and then you walk in a run, which is cardinal sin number 1. Then you give up the double to resident Angel killer Lawrence Butler. Nice catch in the 9th inning from him. He was really great in this last series at the beginning of July, on 4th of July and everything. He continues to kill the Angels despite being no good otherwise. But Kochanowicz, man, it's just no good. 0-2 now with a 14.14 ERA. Nothing else needs to be said. 14.14 ERA. It's absolutely embarrassing. Embarrassing. And it's not all his fault. You know, I was rough on this guy after his first start, and I thought about it a little bit after, and I'm like, the moral of the story is he's just not an MLB pitcher. He should not be in this situation. And I'm not going to, say, oh, you don't get any blame because you shouldn't be up here. At the end of the day, you got to go out and at least pitch decently. But at the end of the day, at the same time at least, he's not supposed to be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball right now. He's absolutely not supposed to be here. And boy, is he showing it. Who knows what they're going to do with him? We know the rotation is a mess right now. We know everybody's hurt. We know the guys that aren't hurt. It's really just Tyler Anderson who's going to be traded, and Soriano, who you know how much I want him to do well in this second half of the season, so he can be one of the bright spots of this otherwise abysmal season. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's Plesac. Maybe you got to bring Plesac back up. You can't tell me he's this bad. He was not good. He had one of the worst innings I've ever seen. Walking guys, being visibly frustrated, visibly out of it in that last start before he got sent down. And I think I'd rather have him than Kochanowicz right now, because let's not forget, Kochanowicz did it against the Mariners, who are the worst offensive team in baseball, and then he did it against the A's, who are one of the worst teams in baseball, top to bottom. So He's not even playing real MLB competition. Let's be honest. He's playing AAA plus competition, but he's playing like a single A pitcher. And let's not forget, he really is a double A pitcher. Okay? This guy came straight from double A to the majors, and boy, is he showing it. So he was awful. He put the Angels in a hole early, and we know, we say it so much, this is a momentum team. It's a bunch of young guys and a bunch of streaky veterans. And when they go behind 3-0, you can tell pretty early they got no fight. They made the slightest bit of a comeback attempt with 1 run in the 3rd. But then right after they do that, 4 runs given up in the 4th. You're down 7-1. And everybody knew, everybody from Anaheim to me all the way right now in upstate New York, we all knew the game was over once it was 7-1. So Kochanowicz puts his team in a hole. He falls to 0-2. The ERA is abysmal. Who knows? He's probably got to be sent down. All right. Let this guy pitch in AAA before he goes into majors. You know, a normal progression. Everybody who knows a thing or two about baseball knows you don't go from AA to majors and expect to pitch well. So let him go back to AAA, or not back to, let him get promoted the right way to AAA and bring Plesac back up. I don't know. Screw it. You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose except more games, which, boy, we're doing that regardless. So that's a little mini rant about Kochanowicz and the Angels overall. The pitching has been terrible. The lineup hasn't been helping at all. When we come back, we'll talk about the few offensive successes, I guess. The few runs that were scored today in another otherwise pretty bad performance offensively. We'll get to the Nolan Schanuel injury and a little bit more. We'll read comments as well as we always do right here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, today's show is brought to you by Booking.com. It's with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games. It's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. It is no secret, I am not in Los Angeles right now. I am in New York, and I use Booking.com throughout the earlier part of my trip in New York City. I use Booking.com for 2 places, and like I said, now I am in upstate New York, not staying in a hotel, but Booking.com made it really easy. I use the app. You can use the website as well. I'm sure it's just as great. Great deals. They're not going to cheat you in any way. Great customer service, all that. So from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, it's over in the NBA. It's over in the NHL. It's now over in the Euros. It's now over in Copa America. We got nothing but baseball and the Olympics in a little bit. We got fewer sports, fewer games. The sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast, and I am a gradually getting better Gavin Carlson. Still a little sick. You can probably hear the raspy voice. I'm sure the energy levels appear a little bit lower than normal, and they are. But it's also a frustrated Gavin Carlson, just like all of you, because boy, are the Angels terrible, and specifically right now. 13-3 yesterday, 8-2 today, getting outscored 21-5, and not by the Yankees, not by the Dodgers, by the Oakland barely, the Sacramento barely, the Las Vegas eventually, the no-name players on the team, A's. And they're outscoring our Angels 21-5. It's utterly ridiculous, embarrassing, every adjective you can think of. We talked about Kochanowicz, who is a no-name for our Halos. He was not great. He was not great. 7 earned runs from him. Rosenberg came in, just like in that disastrous game. It was Kochanowicz, Rosenberg, and neither were great. We got that again today. Rosenberg, 4 innings, 4 hits, just 1 run. He did have a walk, 3 strikeouts. His ERA now 6.3, a whole lot better than that 14.14 from Kochanowicz. The moral of the story is the pitching was awful today, but don't give the lineup a pass. Just because there are these big deficits early, because the pitching has been so bad lately, does not mean the lineup gets a pass. Anthony Rendon, 0 for 4 with an RBI on that sac fly, but also the most embarrassing way to end a game. 1-2-3 strikeout in the top of the 9th to end the game. Thanks, Anthony Rendon. Boy, you have been bad since that 1 or 2 game stretch when he came back and looked okay, had a hit or two. He's been really bad since. Nolan Schanuel, of course, left early. We'll talk about that later. Taylor Ward continues to play some of his worst baseball right when it's time to trade him. That batting average all the way down to 223. We thought it was disappointing when he was in the 250s, the 240s. He's hitting 223. I don't think we're going to get anything for this guy at this point. And that might be the biggest loss of all in this recent stretch. Even in the Mariners wins. The most costly thing for this Angels franchise in this past month, really in June and July, is how bad Taylor Ward has been. Because this is a guy that making a decent amount of money, you can trade him to another team, get some decent prospects for him because he is a veteran who has accomplished a decent amount, who is certainly not anybody's number 3 or 4 hitter, only our sorry self Angels. But if you put him on a real contender and he hits 7th or 8th, that's not terrible, right? Well, now it is because he's hitting 223. The OPS is about to fall under 700, maybe tomorrow if he has another game with another over 3. It hurts so much. It's probably the most costly thing that has happened in this stretch is the Taylor Ward downfall, the just roller coaster completely on the decline now for that trade value. The stock has plummeted. It has plummeted and it hurts. Willie Calhoun with a 1 for 4. Logan O'Hoppe with a 1 for 4. Zach Neto with a 1 for 3. He did have a walk as well and an RBI. Mickey Moniak just an 0 for 2, and Pilar came in for him and went 0 for 2. And then Joe Adell, the best player, the player of the game for your Angels is Joe Adell. 2 for 3. The average is up to 197. He might get in the 200 soon. Adell and Moniak quietly playing slightly better than their 180 selves, getting in the 200s already. Moniak, Adell trying to follow him, but it doesn't really matter. Neither of those guys were getting traded. They're kind of the B-tier level of young guys that you want to still see something from them. But the main young guys, Neto, O'Hoppe, they're okay. We'll get to Schanuel because they really not fun injury for him. But the moral of the story, like I said, the biggest takeaway, other than the lineup not doing much, just scoring 2 runs, is once again, Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward. In the next week or so, and what a perfect schedule too. What a perfect chance to have a great month. Let's not forget the teams the Angels have been playing. The A's, the Cubs, the Rangers haven't even been great. Now the Mariners have been great pitching-wise. I get it. But then the A's again. You get the Mariners coming up. Then the A's again. Like, come on. Taylor Ward, I need you to get a couple hits. I need the average back in the 240s so we can get something for you. Please, I'm going to lose my already gone voice begging Taylor Ward to do something so we can trade him. He must really, really like Orange County. He must really, really like Anaheim because he is doing whatever he can to make sure we can't trade him, and it is so frustrating. But yeah, the offense did nothing, just 1 run in the 3rd, 1 run in the 6th. They continue to have so many games where they can't score that magic number of 5 runs. We know how good this team is when they score 5 runs. If you look even in this month, which has been a terrible month, they have only lost 1 game when they score 5 runs. They lost 5-7 in the first game of the month on July 2nd to these A's. But other than that, 0 runs, 1 run. They scored 7 and they won. Then back to 0 runs, 2 straight 4-run performances and losses. You win 7-2, then you lose 11-0. 6-5, you win because you scored more than 5 runs. Then you win 2 games where you don't score anything. And then these 2 games that we've just had against the A's. So they've only surpassed that 5-run mark. And how many games was that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times this month. They won 3 of the games. You win 3 out of 4 times, you're a great baseball team. But we know this team can't score 5 runs to save their lives. So really frustrating. The typical stuff, lack of small ball, lack of sac flies, lack of creativity. 6 hits isn't nothing. It's also not a lot. Would have liked to see more creativity, more guys coming up in the clutch, but we never see any of it. We're so used to it. We never see any of it. And boy, it's frustrating. It really, really is. And I don't blame any of you, the guys in the comments who say they don't watch the game, who they say they just come here for the postcast. I appreciate you guys, by the way, but man, I don't blame you. I was sitting there watching the game yesterday while sick, and I was frustrated. And today, not feeling great, was on trains, watching the game on my phone, listening on the radio while trying to feel better. And this team was making me feel more sicker, furious, everything. So frustrating. So frustrating. But yes, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. Jeff says sweep tomorrow. Jeff always predicts the bad thing, and he's always right. At least this year. It's the crazy stat I'll say before we take our last break here. I saw at the All-Star break, the Angels were the best team against the spread in Major League Baseball. And I know this is not a betting channel or anything, but that just means that the Angels lose a lot of close games, or at least in the first half they did. The problem is right now, so far, these first 2 games, they're not even losing close games. You're getting blown out by the A's, getting blown out. So take me back to when we lose every game by a run or 2, when we're down 6 runs, but then we come back and score 5 in the 9th and lose by a run. Screw it. I'll take that at this point. Anything other than getting outscored 21-5 in 2 games against the A's. Please, please, please. When we come back from our last break, we'll read the rest of your comments. We'll also talk about that costly Nolan Schanuel injury. Hopefully it's not too serious, but does it affect anything in the coming days? If it's serious and takes a couple weeks, how does that affect things? We'll talk about that right after our last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is finally brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Back here live one more time on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and I'm sick. It's not because of the Angels' play on the field, but if you guessed so, I wouldn't blame you. The Angels have been disgustingly bad so far after the All-Star break, after a 13-3 loss yesterday. How does the team respond with an 8-2 loss today? And oh yeah, it's against the lowly Oakland A's. I think it's time for another team meeting. I think it is. Before we end this postcast, going to go through the remainder of the comments once again. Thanks to Ed, Jeff, Angels win, Anthony Jimenez, KC24J for all being in here. KC24J says, good news, Trout on his way back. I mean, does it really mean anything when he comes back? I don't know. But yes, I would rather watch Mike Trout play baseball, even if it is in losses. He's one of the best players ever, so I'd love to see him on the field. Give me something to cheer about, something to talk about. Other than especially, man, once the trade deadline passes, what is there to talk about with this team? Let's be honest. At least maybe it's a Mike Trout 2 for 4 every other game or something to keep us even remotely interested in this team. Anthony says, Gavin, can we get at least one win before you head back home? It worked last time. Yeah, if you don't know what he's talking about, I told everybody I had 3 more days in LA before I was taking my trip to New York and before the All-Star break. And the Angels were on the losing streak. And Anthony was like, can we just get one more win before Gavin goes to New York? And then the Angels won 3 in a row. They beat the Mariners 3 times to end the first half of the season after that 11-0 loss. So Anthony trying to get that jinx there. Where he says, can we get at least one win before you head back home? I head back home on Monday morning, so they really only have one more opportunity, that being tomorrow. But yes, please, For the love of God, don't get swept back-to-back times, back-to-back series in Oakland against these A's. Please, 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 Anthony. Hopefully you are right. Now, real quick, the news of the day, other than the fact that this team was terrible, is that Nolan Schanuel left this game early. Left calf tightness was the official word from the Angels PR team, from the Angels overall. What does this mean? We don't know how serious it is. It could just be a cramp. I don't know. Maybe by now there's already a tweet out saying it was a cramp. I hope not. Well, I know. I hope so. So he's okay, but I hope I'm not missing anything. But if it is even remotely serious, as in missing a couple games or even missing a couple series, a week or two, does it affect anything? I think it does with the deadline coming up. But it might actually be in a better way than you think. Nolan Schanuel is one of the only guys on this lineup that you know was not going anywhere, obviously. Now, you know how much I've been beating the drum that Nolan Schanuel is, if he can, end the season relatively warm as he has been as of late after that abysmal start to the season, that average has slowly trickled up from being in the 220s to now being in the 240s. I would love to see it in the 250s, 260s by the time the season ends. That's a much more respectable season, so that you don't have to go in the offseason making these huge mechanical changes to your swing or anything like that. I think Nolan Schanuel is so talented. I think he still has so much upside. And of course, like I said, I'm beating the drum. I want to see him in the lineup every night, hitting first or second, getting that average up. But with him out, of course, they're not going to rush him. We know that. There's no need to. It's just more of an opportunity to play some of these veterans and see if they can maybe have a random hot stretch for a week or something before you can potentially trade them. We know how abysmal Brandon Drury has been. 166 is the average. 447 is the OPS. My word, the A's stink, and there is nobody sniffing 447 with an OPS. Brandon Drury, a 447 OPS, and he's not a good fielder either. My word. He did get walked today, but if Schanuel is out, if Drury has to play some first base, if Rendon gets thrown at first base, who knows what could happen? Guillermo might play first base, and other guys get brought in the lineup. Who knows? If Brandon Drury can have a week or two where he hits 500 for 4 games or something, and some team is delusional enough to think they can bring that Brandon Drury out on their roster, then great. And if it's because Nolan Schanuel got hurt today, then I guess that's the only positive, right? Maybe we can get some sort of gift like that. Obviously, would much rather see Nolan Schanuel hitting, but at this point, it's like the guy deserves a day off here and there anyways. Hopefully, it's nothing serious, and maybe some guys can boost their trade value while they replace him. But we don't know. We'll see. It might not be that serious. Obviously, we want him back as soon as possible. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Give the voice the rest it deserves and needs. Like I said, it's also 7 p.m. here, not 4 p.m. So you guys still have your whole afternoon and evening left. So please enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Don't let this team ruin your weekend. And be back here tomorrow, because hopefully it is after a win. Hopefully it is not after a sweep. But either way, I'll be back here tomorrow on the postcast, as long as I don't suddenly get worse with the sickness or anything and the throat gets back to full ability. We're able to talk more normally. And yeah, so hopefully I sleep well, don't get more sick or anything, and we'll be back here for the postcast tomorrow. But with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here. Leave a like, leave a comment as always, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, hopefully after a win against the Oakland A's. This was the Locked On Angels postcast. I am Gavin Carlson. Have a great rest of your Saturday, everybody. Take care.